think it's important also to remember in support of that just because you're making some transformations, letting go of things that don't work and embracing the new, that doesn't mean that you're not being true. If you look at your own authenticity and you say, who am I as a person? How do I really want to show up? Not like how am I partially committed to showing up, like, but fully committed to who you really want to grow into, then you're not becoming somebody fake. You're not like pretending, you're not faking it to make it. You're not trying to like put on a mask and be somebody you're not. You're actually saying, no, this is who I really am. And this is how I want to show up because I want to keep being who I am. I like who I am. And I want this quality in my relationship. And if you are in a place where you're like, oh, well, let's use weight as an example, because it's something that we have much more control over. Clothing style, hairstyle, we can do these kinds of things too. If you know that you want a particular relationship and you're like, oh, I'm willing to show up in all these ways personally, but you're not willing to change the way you dress, or you're not willing to change your hairstyle, or you're not willing to adjust your weight, maybe put on weight if you're super skinny, or maybe lose a little if you feel like, oh, I'm not where I want to be. If you really feel like you're not where you want to be, there's a piece in there that's saying, I'm not being true to myself. But what happens is there's this little trick that happens in the brain and in our society that says, no, they should love me for who I am. Yeah, of course, 100% they should love you for who you are. But are you really being who you really are? Or are you allowing part of your brain to not let you be like all that you really truly can be? Right. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, oh, they should love me for who I am, and this is a random thing, right? Let me just stick with weight because it seems to be such a big deal, especially for women. Mm-hmm. Right. If there's this idea that, well, they should love me for who I am. Yeah, 100%. Absolutely 100% don't deny that at all. But if there's a part of you that says they should love me for who I am, so I don't have to make the change, become healthier because I don't have the resilience or the internal drive or the personal willpower or the strength, or just simply the know-how. I just don't know how to change. And I understand that there's some body types that are just built in a particular way. I get that. That's not what I'm saying. Like if you see me, I'm a tiny, skinny little dude, 4 feet tall in my wheelchair, crazy curvature in my spine, and wicked skinny. So, there's nothing that I can do about that necessarily. But I can, continue to to push my wheelchair as much as I can. So I maintain a particular physical independence because I don't want to lean on somebody to always have to push me. Mm-hmm. Right. So I want to make sure that I can walk with somebody instead of being pushed. 95% of the time, they're probably going to push me because I'm not going to push slow. But there are going to be times when I need to walk by myself so that she knows that I'm with her, not dependent upon her. And so it's the same with weight. Like if there's something inside of you that's like, oh, well, they should accept me for who I am. And that means that I don't have to make any modifications or transform in any way. And I'm not trying to this is such a dangerous zone and area for me to talk about, but I'm not talking about the weight. I'm talking about the psychology, right? I'm talking about becoming the person that you really internally at your authenticity know who you are. And when we're not living the way that we can, we're not in integrity. And so we want other people to accept us for where we are. But what we're asking people to do is accept us for less than who we really are. I don't want that for any of your audience. I don't want that for anybody. I don't want you to ever be less than who you really, truly at your core are. Are you living the way that you want to live? Are you as kind as you want to be? Are you as spiritual as you want to be? Are you as making the money that you want to make? Are you as connected with people as you want to be? And so we're just pulling back and just saying, well, what can you do that gets you to be the person that you want to be? Does that make sense? I hope that I'm not offensive to anybody. That's not my intention at all. I'm just saying that we want to look at ourselves. And I've said this with you before. And I say this to myself, and I say this to my own clients, and I say this when I'm on stage. You want to look at yourself and say, am I living with the highest level of integrity? Meaning that authenticity is an action and emotion. Or am I authentic inside of my heart, but I'm not living with it outside because something is slowing me down or stopping me? Fears, worries, doubt, laziness, not knowing how, fear of judgment, whatever it is. What is stopping you from being authentic? If you look at yourself and go, you know what, I'm not being authentic. This is not who I really am. I don't like this part about me. Whether it's style of dress, or like before we started recording, he said, oh, look at your hairstyle, right? Look at that. I like it. Very nice of you. I hated what was going on top of my head. I had a big bald spot, gray hair on the sides and the back, super thin on the top and gone in the top center. I hated it. So I had to get the courage. To shave my head, because I was scared that as skinny as I am and as small as I am and as awkwardly shaped as I am and in this wheelchair, shaving my head, and I don't mean to be offensive, but I was afraid people would think that I was going through chemotherapy, right? And I don't want people to think that. Don't want people to say, oh, look at that poor guy, he must be going through chemo. But the moment I said, you know what, I'm committed to this because I really don't like what's going on, and this is not, I'm trying to pretend like I'm not like losing my hair, and it's awkward and weird and uncomfortable, whether I'm talking to another guy or whether I'm talking to a lady that I might be interested in. I always felt less than. And so I just said, you know what, I got to shave my head and give it a shot. The moment I shaved my head, literally the moment, I wasn't even out of the shower yet. And I felt 4 times more confident because it wasn't something I'd try to hide. How can I hide it? People push my wheelchair from behind. They're going to look down and they're going to see the bald spot. I can't hide that. But now it's conscious and it's intentional. And I'm wearing this with intentionality. I feel 4 times as confident as I did before. Would I love to have my long blonde hair back from college? Yeah, of course. Is it ever going to happen? Probably not. And that's okay, because it would probably be more difficult for me to handle now. And I'd have to have somebody else help me. This is clean and easy. And you know what else is clean and easy? Living with integrity, living with authenticity, really looking at yourself and saying, this is the person I want to be to attract the person I want to be with, to create the love and relationship that I want, that I deserve.
Beautiful. Yeah, I sometimes think of this as standing in our true identity. It's maybe another way of saying authenticity. Yes. But what is our true identity? What really feels true and right and authentic and real for you? Because what often makes us relatable and even lovable is being real, because it makes other people have the ability to feel comfortable to be real. And that's where we really connect on that heart level rather than just on who we're pretending to be. And by saying that, I'm not saying that we don't want to be our best selves. I mean, hopefully our true identity is that we do care about our own health and we do care about our own appearance, and we don't all have to look like supermodels, but that's that's still our true identity. Like you said, we're not asking people to love and accept us for less than who we really are, because we're standing in our true identity. I don't know if I'll do this justice at all, but in James Clear's wonderful book, Atomic Habits,
yes,
one of the things that he talks about is, when you're talking about the weight thing, it made me remember this. It's like he's saying, if you identify as a healthy, fit person who takes care of their body, then what actions is that going to inspire? So he talks about taking the identity of what you want, the direction you want to go. Even if you're not in that situation at the moment, then you start asking yourself the questions, what would a fit, healthy person taking care of their body choose to eat for lunch today? What would a healthy, fit person taking care of their body choose in terms of getting exercise or getting sleep or caring better for themselves? And I believe when we start aligning with those things, we also tend to attract other people who are more in alignment, and hence that increases the opportunity for us to have connection and a more evolved kind of a relationship.
100%. This is so amazing. I love this, right? This is my 0 to 100 metaphor that I've been referencing. Is often I talk about, you want to raise your standards, right? You raise your standards for yourself. You want to raise your standards for other people. But the problem is that's 100. And what James is suggesting in his book, he's suggesting, hey, why don't we just ask ourselves a few questions? Doesn't mean we have to follow through, but what would a person who really values health and fitness, what would they have for lunch? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Nowhere in there does he say that you have to like have that for lunch. What will happen though is that the more you look at that, the more it becomes really easy to make decisions that are beneficial for you. And you know what it does? It just simply comes back to commitment. Remember, I always say like the first key is letting that crap go. So letting go of the attachment, like, oh, I always get whatever to eat, right? And the second key for me in terms of becoming resilient is commit fully. So when you commit fully, all of a sudden you go, oh, well, a healthy person would eat this, and I want to be a healthy person. I'm committed to that. So I'm resilient. I'm resilient against the the unhealthy foods or the unhealthy choices. And so anytime, and this happens in my life all the time, I could be completely at home by myself, and I'll have this conversation, and it'll shift, and I'll go, nope, I'm really glad that I'm making this decision. I could order food, but I'm really glad that I'm making the decision to eat what I have in the refrigerator today because it's healthier. Because it's healthier. And I know that after I eat it, I'm going to be glad that I ate it. And as soon as I make that decision, before I even eat, I just feel better because I'm not being enslaved by the desire of, oh, I want this crazy, amazing food from this restaurant. I'm making a conscious decision. I'm choosing freedom, and I'm getting the benefits from choosing freedom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beautiful.
I love talking to you because here's why. I know I interrupted you. Please forgive me. I just get so excited. I love talking to you because you're a deep thinker and you care about your audience and you love your audience and you want the best for them. And we have some wonderful conversations. And, listen, I get excited and I want people to go from 0 to 100, but I understand we got to go 0 to 0.5. And that's good enough. That's good enough. 0 to 0.5, right? And here's the thing. Key number one, again, I'm going to circle back to my resilience. Key number one is let that stuff go. Let the attachments go. Step number two or I like to call them keys because they unlock things for you, is commit fully. And the third key is get excited about your upcoming or your next challenge. I don't like to call them problems. I don't like to call them issues. Get excited about your next challenge. So the next challenge is, okay, this is a challenge. What am I going to choose to eat for lunch? I'm excited about this. I'm excited that I'm going to choose to eat this for lunch, and it's going to feel amazing because I accomplished something that's important to me, that I accomplished something that means something at the deeper core, the soul of me. And when you start choosing health in any aspect, whether that's working on this stuff from your past, or whether that's choosing physical health by the way you eat and exercise, or whether it's financial health or social health, it doesn't matter to me, or relationship health, it doesn't matter. When you choose health, and you get excited about it, even though you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this, but I'm excited to try. All of a sudden, the dopamine releases in your brain and you're motivated. It's super easy. Dopamine may feel good, but dopamine is more accurately associated with motivation. So if you're struggling with motivation, committing fully, it may be hard to follow through because you're not actually fully committed. You're partially committed, you're mostly committed, but are you fully committed? But then when you get excited, boom, it just takes it to the next level.